online nonke nina babukeli nithena sijoyina namhlanje njengoba besithilo ke into kokubana sizawube sinaye unobhala we EFF apha kwi-region yase Alfred Nzo uSimthembile Madikizela ukhona ke ngokwenene namhlanje masimamkele masubulele futhi sikwamkele kwi-Inform Online.
Yeah, mandisibulisele mkhulu ndibulise nakubantu abaviewisa i-Informa online and then they appreciate ithuba olunika i-EFF ukuthi incokole nawe nabahlali base Alfred Nzo nakwezinye indawo.
All right, masibulele ke futhi okokuqala siyazana kakhulu sobabini ndiyakwazi ukwezinye i-organizations so uke ngoku ulapha kwi-EFF mhlawumbe yintoni ekutsalileyo kuba ube khona apha kwi-Economic Freedom Fighters?
Well, man, I appreciate Mntana Mabunga, but let me first reflect window bana. I think undazi kakhulu we cope, and then I think I joined now 2008, and this is student ngelo xesha ndimncanyana nje ndisePitoli. I think ngelo xesha maybe sasi emotional. People usually said so good I see emotional because of experiences as a Polokwane.
Okay.
But in reality, when you grow with opposition politics, we realize that the role they are supposed to play with society and get more attracted to the deeper thinking of trying to influence the politics of the society. So the agenda collapsed, I think, on the 2014 elections.
Yes.
It was clear that this thing is not going anywhere. Then most of us who were in that organization were scattered, some going back to the ruling party, some trying other projects. There was already EFF in 2013, which was promising in Nigumla. And ideologically, I think most of the people about social were attracted to the EFF. But at the same time, if you were in opposition politics, you join EFF with the trauma of that project that collapsed, that is COPE. So you would have to think deep before you join the organization. But in 2016, I think 3 organizations, when I was in Ngondi Pipizan, approached me with different people saying, hey, Chief, come and join us, and this is what we are supposed to do in making sure what is influencing politics as a society. So then there were 3 organizations that was the ruling part, the DA, and then the organization that I wanted to approach me at some stage, I must say, Intliziyam was already with that organization. Then this old man came, 90 years, and said, he was more instructive. Why not engage? What Chief, you are join a challenge to Iskakulu. Sifuna ukuthi sincedise apha nalapha programs, especially in the council, because they were new opposition with no experience. Though I had no experience, but I had little bit of capacity of reading, and the check is in. So I couldn't resist, and then I was persuaded. And as a volunteer of the EFF in that small anyana corner of Mbizana. So and ideologically, EFF convinced me. At heart, I'm a socialist, and I understand the ideologies of almost all organizations. But I prefer most socialism, and I believe in it strongly. So EFF resonate properly with my heart, and then I decided to join the EFF. Yes.
Today we secretary organization. Obviously, you came in kufuneka ube ne contribution njengonto kokubana i-ideology yakho ihambisana nayo. What is your contribution in this organization as a secretary of the yayo?
So, with the experience of being in opposition politics, I didn't want any position with EFF.
Yes.
That's the first thing I must explain. To an extent that I was so reluctant to wrestling in the politics. But the organization was run by the comrades who were running it at the time. And there were people who preferred it to be run ngendlela ezithile. So it took me lots of persuasion. At some stage, I decided to say, if they feel that I must stand for a position of the secretary, I will stand. You know the challenges that they were experiencing, most of the comrades. As I said, Simthembile Madikizela approached me because he had the challenge there at Biza. But it was a challenge almost in most of the councils. That when they engage politics in the councils, some comrades would be honest and say, we can't even raise a motion. So we need because abanye babantu sebadala, abanye where EFF is a very open organization. So abanye bantu had no experience of politics. Yes. So they would say, sifuna umuntu ozokwazi ukusincedisa apha asi understand lapha. So some of the comrades with the pace of the EFF, they felt sometimes there wasn't much of a patience or of understanding them. So a person on namava opposition politics, a person okhulele kwezilali zakuthi would easily understand ixhekwazana lasemagcwegeni umzekelo eNtabankulu. Would easily understand ukuthi elixhekwazana, this is how ongalifundisa ngayo ukuthi izinto zase council liziraise. So I think that alone made me to be able to work with most of the comrades. So with the position of the secretary is very critical in any organization because that is a center, a figure, in guidance almost on all portfolios, including governance, including the existence of the organization. So ever since then, we became the collective that leads, because I'm not leading alone. We're a collective. So ever since our collective took over on 2018 June at the 10th, then there has been a shift on how things are run in the organization. And I think even if you can check the records, then that's when even the contributions at the level of the council started appearing. At the level of the council. But beyond the council, in the society, we started getting involved in politics, the society. On the issue of Xolobeni Umzekelo, we were directly and involved in that thing. So in being involved in that issue as a Xolobeni, we raised that issue from our regional people's assembly. So I raised it to the provincial level, to the from provincial level straight to the parliament. So even the motion that was raised by Uyoli Swayako was influenced by our thinking. So people started being conscious that there is an issue of Xolobeni, abantu base-Xolobeni are being exploited by the Australian mining company. And then even the EFF started playing a proper role. The research team started researching about that issue, and then they played a role. With it, this is the position of the EFF. So our politics influenced the society. That is one of the examples. But there are many other issues that people are comfortable with raising with us. Even the issue of workers, even especially in the municipalities, people were not that comfortable. easy to raise issues to anyone. But with the strength of the EFF, they saw that we are very confident in engaging issues. They started approach, raise issue. This is how we are being treated in this council. This is how we are treated in this institution. So EFF can help us because we are courageous young people who have nothing to lose.
Okay.
So we are able to tackle any issue.
Any issue. Okay.
Yes.
One of the responsibilities that you have as a secretary is to grow the organization.
Yes.
Ufike mhlawumbe wena kunjani in terms of growth, and we determine njani growth mhlawumbe ye-organization.
Yes. No, the growth of the organization is tested only on the elections.
Yeah.
There is no other way. All other fictional things, imaginations, I won't help you to say, I'm growing the organization here without testing it on the elections. So, in 2016 local government election, EFF got 13,500 votes.
Yes.
Then in 2019, when we were in charge, we were running the processes, it got more than 19,000 votes.
Okay.
So that is, you calculate the difference between 13,000 to 19,000. That is clearly the growth of the organization. So, and then generally, even its visibility, beyond the elections, the reality is that the organization is more visible than it was before. But I won't say we are better than anyone. We're not competing with anyone.
Yeah.
And we are not celebrating the mediocrity. We're not as a level of celebrate mediocrity and say you got 19,000 votes, but it's still 10%. It's less than plus or minus 10%, and then you start celebrating that.
Okay.
The organization is not established to oppose. The organization is established to ultimately take power. So if we are at 10%. At this time, that means it would take us a very long time to take power. So I'm not a part of the people who are celebrating that. I'm not celebrating 10%. My view is that we must grow the organization beyond that percentage, and there is only one way we can grow the EFF. The way we can grow the EFF is by growing it on the rural areas.
Yeah.
There was a thinking that it's growing fast on the urban areas, but the reality is that the urban voters are more liquid voters. They vote according to their feelings, or if they feel that namhlanje kuvela into ekuthiwa action SA, they get excited and go to that thing. But the rural voters, if you told them in 1990 that this is a party Katatu Tambo, Tatu Mandela, they will stick on that for a very long time. It will take courageous and very committed people to convince them otherwise. And then once you win those voters as rural areas, you have won for them for a very long time. It's not the voters that are going to shift anytime soon. So it's very important with Tina, class EFF, with rural areas. It's very important that most leaders of EFF must be visionaries.
Okay, now EFF, when we're talking about branches, night branches isn't happy, friends.
The branches of EFF, when it went to RPA, it had 90% of the branches. So when we
90%, how many?
That was 91 branches.
Yes.
Yes. So most of those branches are still active.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
So yeah.
They are still active.
Yes.
As Gapelelo.
No, is yaphelelwa. We relaunch most areas and have some sort of what task team, what command team kind of is a form of a task team. That means what I am emphasizing is that in every ward in Alfred Nzo, at all 101 wards, we exist.
Okay.
There are branches that are valid. There are branches that we are having task teams on, but we are existing in every ward.
If mhlawumbe xa sithetha nge-branches ungeneliseka xa zingaphi mhlawumbe uqonda uba ya uyayibona, because you will find umzekelo, I don't remember apha kule ward sinayo ilantuka, apha kule ward sinayo ibranch yelantuka ward 19 ibranch apha edolophini uyayibona, asinayo ibranch ye-EFF. Ndenza umzekelo, uyayibona, there are people onobakhomba ukuthi lo yimember ye-EFF but abanayo ibranch. Now ithetha ukuthi zikhona indawo ezinjengezi, mhlawumbe zingaphi branches that would say I'm satisfied, fanele sibe ne branches zinga.
No, myself as a person, I can't I can't say I'm always satisfied and here.
Yeah.
There is only the organization that says it branches EFF must be ngaka.
Okay.
So in Alfred Nzo, we are required to have 101 branches.
101 branches.
It's actually njengoba kuzo adopt le demarcation.
Yes.
We have to have 105 branches. They must match the demarcations ka IEC.
Okay.
So that is a strict condition.
In
So
members Singapi members that we have on record.
each branch must have at least 100 membership.
Okay.
Yes, and more.
Okay.
So that the organization at SGO level, it will always be satisfied by that. As the secretaries have the responsibility to make sure that those branches exist in everyone.
So are you saying you still have 91 branches up until now?
Yes, we even have more than that. Because if from there, the branches are launching daily. So we even have more than that.
More than 91.
Yes.
All right. Masibuye ke ngoku ke sive kwilo mcimbi wokuphikisa pha elandukeni. Ndike ndibone ecounseleni especially. Ndike ndibone i-ANC ndenza umzekelo ngayo. Where xa kuzoba khona icouncil ubona unobhala wakhona ezawuba khona kube khona i-caucus uyayibona loo nto le. Do you guys have those things nina as i-EFF?
It's a standard norm. It's a normal thing to do, but that you always give guidance. That's why we EFF, we even have a GTU governance task unit that specializes in making sure that our councillors are given a mandate with caucuses. So that thing has been there for a long time in the EFF. But when we came in as a structure, it became more effective. I think, luckily, you have been observing us for a very long time, though you were not covering most of our programs. Though you were not covering them, but you have been observing us. We have been releasing even statements about any issue that we see take place. We have been visiting even the councils, going there to observe ourselves. The mandate that we have given the councils, we go there and then check whether the councillors are doing it. And then what are the challenges in a case they don't do it? Because the reality is that if you are sending 4 councillors in Bizan against 52 army of the ruling party, you must know that it's not going to be easy even to raise a hand for a councillor. It needs a conscious and a courageous person to raise a hand first against those people. And then to articulate the position of the organization is not always going to be easy also. So it needs people with patience and conscience and making sure that you understand your forces, you understand the people that you are sending to the council. And in time. That's why the city we do the caucuses. We have a unit that is tasked to deal with specifically the issue of governance. Okay.
Now, if you've got a caucus, you tell you guide your councillors and do you guys also agree when the ruling party says, no, we are taking a service delivery to such and such a what? Okanye, this is what we have. We are going to deliver so much. Do you, there are times, this is what we have. Do you come to agreement in terms of a service delivery?
On the issue of service delivery, it's compulsory that we must agree. But the whole system the ruling party is using, we totally disagree with it. You see, one of the examples that I always argue is that the IDP approach, the ruling party goes to the what? If they go to what 20 area C, they go there with a ready document developed by someone who was sitting in an air-conditioned office, who is called Operations Manager, all those things, and go to area C, what 20, and say, Sizonenzelu ABCD. But that's not how IDP is supposed to operate. You are supposed to go with a skeleton, blank skeleton, and say, these are the guidelines of running the IDP. This is what the IDP can do. What are the agent issues enizidingayo kule ward? Bathi abantu sidinga A, B, C, D.
Okay.
And then wena uthi okay, imali esinayo for lo nyaka, we can afford A up to B. Yeah, and then you take that to the council, and then the council agrees with as nazi izinto ezifuna kula ward. But most of the time they go there and impose things to the people, as izinto ezideveloped by the managers who were never on that area. Most of the managers, if you can go to them and ask them, uba uyakwazi na exholobeni umzekelo. Indlela yexholobeni ihamba kanjani xa usexholobeni? Uyofumanisa umanager wasembizana engayazi loo nto leyo. Uyofumanisa umanager wasentabankulu engakwazi emacwerheni uba kundawoni kanye kanye. But what they master most is that they will make sure that the paper meshes into don't PMFAs, they will make sure good one accurate because and then the tender is given the right person. That's all. Okay. Yeah, but there is no vision. There is no visionary leadership even at the level of the ruling party of saying this is what when we do that project or when we do something for the community, it must be something that is guaranteed for years. Okay. They are very passionate, for example, about maintaining the roads. If you check in 5 years, imali they spend xa besenza umgaqo, lo mali would have ubinga wakho umgwaqo onetha for that will be durable for 60 years. Then there would be no maintenance. That means the comrades would not give each other something. So they comfortable ngemikhukhu yemigaqo because umkhukhu womgaqo bazokwazi ukuthi baphinde bathi baya maintainer next year, then kuthi ukhwaye ngegrader kusherishwe. Next year kuphinde kuthi ukhwaye ngegrader kusherishwe kuthi xa beyibhala ke omanager bakhona bathi baya maintainer. So the system the ruling party is using, we disagree with it. As the EFF, we feel that there must be a new system, of which I think we will argue it even on the election strategy of the EFF and on the manifesto of the EFF, that when we go to local government, we must be clear of our vision, what we want to achieve, and then if need be, there must be amendments on the constitution. There must be amendments of the constitution, because most of the time they say this thing that has you will find it a disclaimer of money tented, but the things that you feel that the communities need. So and then the integration of the departments, because now omnye wakhe toilets, omnye wakhe clinic kwenye department, or izindlu kwenye department, then umasipala une responsibility enyane encane pha ekoneni, and then it's very difficult to coordinate chaos. So you will never say we are sealed. Sizenze zonke basic needs. Then we are left with the other general development related issues. So
now into edalbandibuza ke lo mbuzo we-caucus nekugayidwa kwe-councillors, a councillor in Alfred Nzo uvote ne-ANC esithi bazosamanzi somewhere ngukansila bani kanti nokansila Langa, and then ingathi ndine problem nalonto mhlawumbe ndiyiunderstanda ngohlobo.
I don't know where you get it. Yes. And then how it came to you, but the truth of the matter is that we agree with the service delivery. Yes. You get my point. But the EFF strictly doesn't vote with the ruling party under any circumstance. That's why there was an issue in the NCOP where they made the mistake of when it comes to this thing of voting. So EFF has a policy of not voting with the ANC. Even if they agree, we simply abstain. That's why even if
bavumelana bodwa nalonto inhle
even if there is a good manager that is going to be employed, you know that this is a best manager. Yes. But EFF has to abstain on those issues because what is going to happen in reality, because we're in politics, I think the leadership, or when this policy was developed, the view was to look at in the long term, in the long run, because the reality is that when this thing of voting, once the ANC has fictions, they will go around with the bags. That happened in one of the municipalities. Actually, it happened in Bizana the other year when they wanted to what was that, what is MM,
Yeah.
or the other MM.
Yes.
Then the other faction didn't want the MM, the other faction wanted the MM. Then there was a guy who was going around the houses of the opposition councillors, persuading them that you sign this document, we do ABCD, this is an exchange.
Okay.
So the EFF has to protect itself from those things. So as the organization, we don't vote with the ruling party under any circumstance.
All right, sibambeke unobhala we-EFF erithinini Simthembile Madikizela nguye ke okhona apha. Colleagues uba ngaba khona umbuzo okhona from abantu ababukeleyo ningasiphosela sikwazi ukudlulisa awuphendule umntaka Madikizela. Now let's come to the issue kaMeya wase-Alfred Nzo.
Yes.
Kutheni nithanda ungamthanda uMeya wase-Alfred Nzo?
Why should we Why
What is the problem? You march against him, you do all those things, and aninyali ukubiza igama lakhe. Intoni enifilish into obuyenza wrong kula masipala executive mayor uMhlamakhulu?
Right. One of the things that we have to always clarify is that there is no personal issue with him. Two, all of us must face the reality.
Yeah.
He is leading the institution that is the district municipality with a budget of 1.3 billion.
Okay.
So, and then under it, there are 4 municipalities he is responsible for to guide at least at a political level. He's a chairperson of the ruling party. So then all those things alone say that we must make sure by all means that he accounts to the public, especially to the public. So any politician, him and all other mayors, when we took over as a regional leadership, we visited all these municipalities, dealing with our organizational issues vis-a-vis the municipality. One of the examples was the dress code. And then we would also deal with service delivery related issues when we meet them.
Yeah.
You see? Then in the engagements, we went with the attitude that says, whatever we do will depend on the attitude that they respond with. Yeah, well, we started with Bizana. They were not used to a situation where an opposition would come and call the whole troika and say, come and explain A, B, C, D.
Yes.
To an extent that I'm told that the regional secretary of the ANC advised otherwise, that they must not do that. But the situation would be worse the way we planned things, that if we go there and then they have attitude, the situation will be worse. We will deal with the issue the best way we know how. Why we were doing that is, one of the most important things was to emphasize that whether we have 1 councillor, 2 councillors, 3 councillors or more, the reality is that they are given a mandate by the constituency, then there is a vote, there is a certain percentage of the society are confident to these people. So we had to emphasize that point. So we went to Bizana, there was attitude, and then at a later stage they realized that no, there is no need for attitude. The most important thing is to engage the issues that we are bringing on the table. The whole troika was there. We booked the appointment to all other municipalities. All other municipalities, whenever we go there, they would go with a full troika there. Yeah, well. Then when we went to Alfred Nzo, when we went to Matatia, the first day he refused the Matatele, the first day appointment, Nomasom would tell us until we had to go there ourselves. When we find in Dogobana, Classfield Matatele, we find in Dogobana, the reality is that they had issues, Nomasomi, Vesa Viumbella, Mgenela Ngapa, Nomasomi, Ngapa, Nombella. So we engaged Umbella. He had an attitude, he had an arrogant attitude also, but at some point, we had to find each other because he realized that these are the issues that we are coming with. When we went to the district, the speaker was there, chief whip was there, and she was not a chief whip, but Mam Musogan was there. MM was there. On most of our meetings, they would be there, but the mayor wouldn't go there.
Okay.
We felt that we were undermined.
Oh, I see.
We felt that this man is undermining us, and no matter how powerful he is, he can't respond to us with an arrogance. When we want to meet with you, we are important stakeholder anywhere. We are important stakeholder, even if we call the manager of the hospital, that manager of the hospital must suspend everything else and meet us.
Okay.
It's a rule that we subscribe to. That's a belief we believe on. We don't care whether the MEC is coming, the president is coming. When we say we're coming, because we're an important stakeholder, you must reschedule all of those things and meet us.
So you felt undermined.
We felt undermined
by him not attending meetings, Zane.
Yes.
Okay.
That was the first point.
Okay.
Then we raised the society. Most of the people approached us raising the issues that they were concerned about, that they believe is corruption, from the issue of 300 million and many other issues that relate to the corruption.
Yes.
So we wrote to the municipality, we wrote the statements to the media, and yourself and Max, we were sure that you will never write them. You and Max, but luckily we had Daily Dispatch on our side.
Okay.
So Daily Dispatch would say, okay, but they would check and then write about it.
Yes.
So, but we were consistent in doing that.
Yeah.
Until people, because when we do that, we want to make sure that if people feel that Nomabunga is not servicing them properly, they must have an option B.
Yeah.
So until people started believing that we are an option B, including his family.
Okay. Including his family.
Yes.
Ningene apho ke ngoku ifamily naqonda uba manimgqushalazisa apha kwifamily bendifuna uya kuloo ndawo into yoba i-EFF ingena kanjani kwizinto zefamily.
Asiyanga kwifamily.
Kwenzeke ntoni because is claiming into okokubana i-EFF yiyo kanye ide yoqhuma phi national parliament.
Yes.
Because of i-EFF iyongena izinto zefamily. What happened?
I said we were consistent to a point okokubana abantu believe ba in a case so and so is irritating us, we have option B that is ready to take him head on.
Okay.
So the family felt EFF is ready to take him head on at a regional level.
Okay.
That's when the family started approaching us, telling us about corrupt activities that are happening within the family.
Kulapho
There are cars eziyazifike uthi yabona zithole zilowbet ziyemka, and then to provincial level know very well that the family first, especially the old people, because they disagreed with the young ones, who are the EFF, most of them. The old people, most of them are ruling party. So they disagreed with them, and when they wanted to approach us, then they first approached the premier, and then they even approached the provincial treasurer. I think at the time, he was already provincial treasurer. They believe that he can influence things, and they were personally close. Who put provincial treasurer and the chairperson of the region. So they believe that he could influence him, but all of them, they ignored them. To a point that the family then are good. Then we had to deal with the issue.
Then do you think you've succeeded kule option B enimenzileyo wokuba ningene phaa kwezi issues zefamily?
Well, the question on Mrs. Buzeon, what did you want to achieve? You see? What we wanted to achieve as an organization is to make sure that no one is feared in the society.
Okay.
No one is untouchable in the society. So we achieved that. No one is afraid to speak about Stoli. No one is afraid to speak about Babalo, for example. They speak about Babalo, they write anything about Babalo. No one is feared now in the society. But there was a time where those comrades would be untouchable. You wouldn't easily speak about Stoli. Today, 113 workers defy Stoli. The workers at the management level are giving us information now about how the PA to the executive mayor is handling issues there. How she is calling the shots. But we are dealing with that slowly. At some point, we are going to expose that.
You mentioned corrupt activities by Ustoli. Do you have evidence of those things that you...
Everything that is wrong in the district is Stoli.
Oh.
Yes. Everything that is wrong in the informer is Nomabunga. you are heading informer. So even if kuphukile ucango districtini, even if akuvuleki igate ku department ethile ka disaster, isixolile.
Okay.
Stolin, and the person who's going to take over from Stolin is going to take all that package. The nice package of being in the face of the district and the office in Utintin, and also the package of a bad institution, that person will inherit that. And they wait until that person takes over. And then see how the EFF is going to treat that person.
Do you have mayors that you think no sympathize nalo mayor because no we wavakala xa sithethe?
That means we would be advising the organization to deregister.
Njani?
Xa singathi I was sympathizing. No. Indaba nkulu don't contest because Itsileng is a nice mayor. That's a problem. That would be a problem.
Bonke babopha ngebandelini. Even nalo wasemzimvubu.
Including the laws in Zimbabwe. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Makasijonge ke ngoku umcimbi we service delivery. All around.
Yes.
Linking school. How do you feel the service delivery?
Well, a service delivery is a disaster. Currently, we have written to even SIU and the public protector. A complete documents. We have list of those companies that we have sent to the SIU so that the SIU can zoom in and check what is happening there.
Okay.
Yeah, you see. Then even without being a professional or politician, just an ordinary person, if you talk of a billion, 1 billion, you are talking of a serious big amount of money.
Okay.
And the district has a district alone has a very few things that are under it to be done by
like
the district.
Gamanzi,
Local economic development, and very few other things. Okay. Yeah. So then when you go around Alfred Nzo, there is no smell of a billion there.
Okay.
There is no smell of a billion. Then going to local municipalities, the service delivery there is crippled mostly by the approach that we believe is totally...
Also the system,
yes, the approach and the system is totally confused, and then the guys do not have a direction at that level. And but also the reality is that the factions of the ruling party are going to cripple most of the municipalities. And these people are advanced now because they cook the papers, they cook the documents. So if we don't zoom in and then we don't expose these things and then we don't engage them as robust as we can, there will be crisis. But also, opposition parties alone cannot do anything, cannot do much of a difference, but the society also needs to rise up. And in rising up, they must make sure that they influence all politics. Either the opposition politics and the ruling party politics. Because the reality is nowadays crisis. If the whole ruling party would send almost 50% of the people who don't have it, actually 80% of the people who don't have matric. Beside that, almost close to 10% of the people can't write a paragraph about what has been happening in the whole council. A paragraph, literal paragraph. There was a time where I even zoomed to a point that I found out their councillors who can't write their names. Literally, they sign X on the register. They can't have a signature, they can't even write their names. But because of the populist politics, then they end up going to the council. So what is happening is in Dogogbana, the people with conscience, people who was born are not interested with politics. Because politics that is shifted to politics and the entertainer mediocrity. Most of these people, all politicians don't read. Where's Alfred Nzo? They don't read. I once wanted a document to a politician, very senior politician. That politician gave me a totally wrong document because he couldn't read that this is not a correct document I wanted. So that is a crisis. That means those people, when they go there, they adopt the reports, they adopt reports that they don't understand.
And then that will inhibit ke ngoku na ilantuka progress in terms of its
There will be no progress. There will be a very rich municipal managers and their subordinates or their colleagues, but the society will continue to be poor. Because there's these municipal managers, they know more. And their agenda is not service delivery. There is no municipal manager who knows the pain of the people to the ground. They don't go to the ground and see what is happening. We need to make sure we engage real politics, we influence each other, we use every document that we're given as the EFF to make sure that it guides us. Also face the reality. Because the same tendencies that are in the ANC, we have some of them.
Okay.
You look how we get candidates, how we get people to lead the branches. You would say that we have a similar problem. We tend to fear people who has more capacity than ourselves, even ourselves. I wouldn't go to a person who's a graduate, who's coming from the university, who was a radical there, and recruit that person to the EFF.
Okay.
It's a lot of reluctance. It takes a lot of confidence and conscience to ground. But most of the time we don't do that. Why we don't do that is because people tend to be too comfortable with mediocrity. Sonke sibe comfortable kakhulu ngemediocrity asifuni into enyuka to a certain level. So that's why even when we get the candidates, we will find out that this candidate doesn't have the confidence of the society. Akana confident yosibonda yamakholwa yabantu abakhulile apha elalini. So we end up getting 70 votes, 150 votes. That's not the number we're supposed to get with the hype, because the organization is selling itself. The EFF is is a brand that is Tengsegalul. But when we go to the candidates, we don't analyze properly. So I think that's a mistake that we must acknowledge it, even ourselves at the organizational level, and then have a process of shifting from that.
You guys, when you're talking to EFF people, they speak so eloquently about issues. But one thing, people are not voting for you. You are not winning any word. Local government. You have not won a single word. What is wrong? What do you think we are doing wrong?
That's what I was saying. That we don't want to show ourselves that policy-wise we're different to the ruling party, and then implement that.
Okay.
We are reluctant in implementing such things. But I think with strategic sessions that we are going to be involved in, we are going to face such realities. Because when we engage politics at an organizational level, sometimes you will find in any organization, people have a tendency of believing anything that comes from the leader, as if it's a holy thing. It's like it's spoken by Jesus Christ. But the reality is that in politics, there's no one who is a doctor know-it-all. So ideas must be generated, there must be engagement of ideas, and then the exchange of ideas. Then that exchange of ideas will polish whatever you want to come up with, and then you will come up with something that is very sharpened. The reality is that the DA grown from, it was once 1% party, then today it's a 20% party. They had their own strategies that they are revising now. The strategy of pulling in blacks, that Eskazile, and then at a later stage she felt that she has to revise that strategy. So the EFF is growing in numbers, but not in a satisfactory way that would say it must be the future of South Africa within 10 years before there is a crisis. Because what is going to happen, we will say we are the future until there is more crisis in the society. Because right now, we are talking of there was the original Secretary of Eff recently up, boosting about 80%, that they are enjoying a support of 80%. Crisis as they are, they are enjoying the 80%. So we need to explore strategies of making sure that we reduce that number.
Okay.
And not for ourselves only, but for the society that we are living in. Because if we don't reduce that number, that means anytime they want to take decisions, they will take decisions ebafuna ngayo. And they will be resistant to change as they are. Yeah, so our politics must be reduced from the level of being looking at a national level too much. We must look on the issues as isityapha emakhaya and then influence ezi zinto zisityapha emakhaya.
Apha ekuthetheni kwethu, you mentioned Ubabalo Madikizela, the treasury of ANC.
Yes.
How related are you? Mhlawumbe kusenokwenzeka into yoba it's just a surname enidibene ngayo, anezo brothers. Are you a family member?
Family Madikizela, I think, is not even more than 100 years old.
Yeah.
The generations, all of them. So umntwa Madikizela nobunda, I know kowabo, I know uzalwa ngubani. We know each other.
I'm raising this thing because this document oyaziyo beske sathetha ngayo ke yajikeleza apha.
Yeah.
Kusithiwa wena ubekwe ngubabalo apha, ibona loo nto leyo. As a result, you are trying by all means to destabilize the growth here, EFF. How did you respond? How can you respond? Do you always consult mhlambi naye politically or anyway?
But what are the people saying? What are they saying? What is he benefiting by destabilizing EFF? What can he benefit? Even analysts, when they analyze, what are they saying? As a journalist, you saw the document circulating. Have you tried to make an effort to check what is Babalo going to benefit if EFF collapses? Have you tried that?
The growth ANC.
If EFF collapses, the ANC will grow.
The influence will grow more than it is now.
No, that is a very wrong analysis.
Yeah.
At its own.
Yeah.
But beside that, I won't deny Indogobana Ubabalo, I know him.
Yes.
But he is closer to older people than me, to the family. So my politics are not influenced by anyone. I think some of the family members are ANC even currently in my family.
Yeah.
So some are EFF. For that matter, even before I joined the EFF, unyana omkhulu wam was in EFF nansi eThekwini.
Okay.
Wayesa Northwest waba EFF. The other ones babeseThekwini baba EFF iqala. And then the other brother in my family at UT waba EFF before me. So they always boosting over bande recruiter mna ku EFF. That means EFF, ANC, DA, they are politicking in the same society, to a point that they are politicking in the same households. Uzohlala ne brother yakho ngapha ibe ANC enye ibe DA. Because of the society we are living in.
Yes.
Politics as a society esiphila kuzo zi dynamic to that level. Then going to a point, maybe Babalo has influence on me or not. Babalo doesn't have an influence on me. To a point that he is a reserved person. Even if he has an opinion, most of the time, I think he holds his opinion. There is only one time where he asked me what is happening. That was the only question, what is happening? Then waphele lapho ngexesha satheka ifriend yakhe.
Oh, okay.
He asked what is happening, what happened, and then I said you check the videos on Facebook, and then he went to post himself and Zwelim Kize and assuring his forces that that was in my imagination that maybe he's assuring his forces that with him even during this time. So. He doesn't influence my politics. I don't influence his politics. I'm not even at the level of influencing his politics as a brother. So, family-wise, I respect all my brothers. Yes. Whether you are in ANC, you are in DA, I respect them. To an extent that if you have a person who if ubabalo sebhishwa than I'm not joving komo le makhaya,
Yeah.
I wouldn't have an attitude of being a regional secretary. I would take it as a brother sending a brother, would I get because I'm busy and so then, but politics, I don't think you would influence. But I'm just making an example. If you would say so, it doesn't do that.
Okay.
You must people mustn't quote me wrong and say imani
well,
but I
what
wouldn't
things again,
I wouldn't
yes.
have an attitude of a regional secretary of the EFF. I wouldn't say the MEC is sending me there.
Okay.
I would say ubabalo, just a big brother is sending me. Yeah, bon. If into anezikufutshane naye azikho ngelo xesha. So respecting a person, that's the level we can go. But my politics are not influenced by them.
Okay.
When I joined EFF, already Babalo had influence in the politics of the ANC. Daniso Umchana Madikizela had influence in the politics of the ANC. Magino Umchana Madikizela had influence in the politics of the ANC. They had taken power from Amakomanis who disagreed with them. Most of the people who are there, we are related, but political conscious must be above those things.
Okay.
You must politics limit who you relate with, because you will be limited in thinking. So people who think like that, they usually have a problem. But we are not going to say, okay, maybe he will have a role model of Mehlo Makulu who was very close to his Umchanake, and then but he is embarrassing himself in the public. I wouldn't look at as a role model. Yeah, as people, just normally, as normal human beings, you must subscribe to issues of Ubuntu. Yeah, the respect, the way you treat each other as people must always reflect on how you do things. But organizations political have different roles. So, in conclusion, on the same issue, I don't know his ideology, Babalo. What does he subscribe on ideologically? But I'm certainly sure he disagrees with socialism.
Okay.
I'm certainly sure, no matter what he does, but most of the time I'm certainly sure he disagrees with socialism. Okay. So I subscribe to that ideology, and I'm committed to that ideology. So my politics are always determined on what the organization stands for.
Okay. Siya kwi-elections next year.
Yes.
Ithini program, itarget yenu Alfred Nzo. Ithini?
Well, I won't be unrealistic, but the reality is that when I look at politics, and when we project ourselves going forward in the future, we always emphasize in the Ubana, we don't need to send the number of councillors that we sent the last time.
Okay.
Because the reality, it made the life very difficult for those councillors, for the organization, and for the society that we're living in. Because people don't know that we have 3 councillors in Mzimfu. What they do, they believe that EFF is there, exists, ilwela born. Then when they come in nengxaki zabo, beza nengxaki zabo ezinkulu ezingaka. Bafike bafuna EFF ibalwele kwezo ngxaki, but unfortunately we don't have enough influence. So going forward, we don't need less than 20 councillors in every council.
Okay.
That must be the target. That is the target of each and every member of the EFF. Yes. And fortunately, that is achievable. But we need to constantly revise our strategies, but we are not going to come to the media and shout, this is what we are going to do as a strategy. But the reality is that we must always revise our strategies zethu siqiniseke uba sibane direction yobana silwa njani, because most of the time we adopt the strategies that are developed at the national level, that are general strategies, but each society has its own dynamics. For example, in Matatiela, the society of Matatiela is not the same as Ntabankulu. That's a reality. Most of the areas in Matatiela, they are used in opposition politics. The existence of AIC and DA reflects that correctly. But there are areas in Ntabankulu and Bizana where you would find people very rigid. In an embarrassing situation where you would find we have 1 vote in the whole ward, 10 votes in the whole ward. So we need to think And how to influence such societies. If we want to influence them, we want to analyze it deeply.
Okay.
And say, this society, inje, and then this is what we are going to do.
Right, ke bhuti nesigqibeleni ke ngokusiyovala ingaba mhlawumbi kumcimbi we-COVID-19 into esingeke siyishiye le singayithethanga ithini message yakho?
Well,
Simthembile Madikizela nongnobhala ke we-EFF apha kwi-Alfred Nzo region. So ababukeli bethu ababuzi kwanto babonwabile nje. Alright, masibayeke kanjalo ke. I-engagement iyaqhuba ke people izawuhlala ikhona ilantuka ungathi naxoba uzihlalele endlini yakho ubukele ku YouTube wethu The Informer newspaper okanye ku Facebook page The Informer 1 uzibukelele ucommente then ke isaqhuba into bhuti masibulele man kudala selifunela ithuba
hayi kulela thina phela kulela thina sewulela kakhulu.
Enkosi kakhulu, thank you.